So we are doing 7.3. We're not going to finish it today, but we're going to get a good part into it. We got some calculator stuff to do after we do one problem, no calculator. So we're going to start with this 7.3 1b. It says we're going to use the inverse method by hand. Again, I know we did this at the very end of last class, but I know it's been a little while for us, so I'm just going to kind of reteach it. This method is where we want to get x equals a to the negative first times b. So we want to get our coefficient matrix. So I have like it kind of nicely done over on this side. We want to get our coefficient matrix. We want to do the inverse of that because that's our A matrix. And we want to multiply that by our solution matrix. And that's going to give us what x and y equal. Okay. The only reason I know to do this inverse method by hand and to do it using the inverse method is because the directions tell you. If you notice, this looks like just a systems of equations. So you might, without reading the directions, think that you can do substitution or elimination or graph. I'd rather you not. I'd rather you do inverse. Okay, so let's get into that. So let's start by doing our matrices. Let's do A, X, and then B matrix. So we'll start with our coefficients. Our coefficients are going to be our A matrix. So these are our A matrix. So A is going to be 4, 3, -2, -1. Now we'll do our XY matrix, our variable matrix. So we'll set that X and just Y. We talked about it last class on why it's just a 2 by 1 matrix. I multiplied it out. I'm not going to do that again because it kind of takes a little bit of time, but I need you just to remember and know that that's what that's going to be. And then our B matrix is another 2 by 1 matrix. It's just the solutions. It's just the right side of the matrix altogether. I suggest you writing these out just because it helps us then decide how do we do the inverse, what do I do next? So I'm going to take A now and I'm going to do the inverse of A. So I'm going to come down here and do inverse of A. This kind of relies on us to remember what happens, how we do the inverse of A. I always start with the determinant. So I'm going to do the determinant of A. A times D minus B times C. A is 4 times D, which is -1, minus B, which is 3 times C, which is -2. So I'm going to go 4 times -1 is -4. -3 times -2 is a +6. So that equals 2. Am I moving too fast for you guys? All right, now just like in the homework and like you'll be expected to do on the quiz tomorrow, we're going to do the inverse of A, which means I'm going to do 1 over the determinant times the scrambled up version of this matrix. So A and D switch places, -1 goes first and 4 goes last. 3 and -2 stay in the same spot, but they change signs. So it's going to be a -3 and a +2. And then I'm going to distribute that 1/2 to everything. So I'm going to go -1/2, -3/2. If you can simplify it, please do. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. I know we're probably like tempted to do decimals here. I know 0.5s aren't a big deal if you do decimals, but you might get like 1/3 eventually, and I want you to not put it into decimal form because I promise it should work out nicely. All right, now we need to get to the point where we're doing A to the negative first times B. So I'm going to take this matrix that we just found and we're going to multiply it times B. I'm probably just going to do a whole new step down here just so I have all my pieces. So now I'm going to do A to the -1 times B. So I'm going to have -1/2, -3/2, 1 and 2. And we're going to multiply that times B, which is 1,6. No, it's been a minute since we've multiplied matrices, so this might be something we have forgotten. So remember, when you multiply matrices, we have to check our dimensions. I've got a 2 by 2, and this is going to be a 2 by 1. Am I allowed to multiply those two matrices together? That middle piece at 2, that's the same. So that means that yes, I'm allowed to multiply them together. And my answer is going to be a 2 by 1. I take the first number that they didn't share and then the last number. So my new dimension is going to be a 2 by 1. And so I like to often kind of set myself up with like the number of blanks. I've got 2 rows, so I've got one on top and one on bottom, and I just have 1 column. So I just have 2 lines ready to go. As I multiply them together, I'm going to go row by column. So first row by first column is going to give me this first spot. In my head, I'm thinking -1/2 times 1 plus -3/2 times 6. All right, -1/2 times 1 is -1/2. And then plus -3/2 times 6 is going to be a negative. You can keep it as a fraction, like I actually might be tempted to keep it as 18/2, just because that's going to be easy to combine with that -1/2. That does simplify down to a whole number, but I actually don't really care about that because I'm going to combine it into a fraction in a second. I like having like denominators. Now we're going to do the second row times the column, and that's going to give me my second row first column answer. I'm going to do 1 times 1, which is 1, plus 2 times 6, which is 12. Once I get that, I'm just going to pop on over here and combine my like terms. So I've got -19/2 and 13, and those are my answers. X equals the top, -19/2, Y equals the bottom, 13. You can actually just leave it in this answer matrix. You can just leave it in that matrix you have there. That's a good enough answer. But if you would rather, if it makes more sense to you to say this is what X is, this is what Y is, you can write them like this. Questions so far? Okay, the next part is all calculators. So let's go ahead and get our calculators out. You're gonna need them. You guys got your calculators? All right, before we put this in, I want to start by making a not 2 separate matrices. Oh no, actually I do. This is inverse method. I still want 2 separate matrices. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna do X equals A to the -1B. But if you realize I have 3 equations, which means I'm gonna have 3 variables, and I'm not gonna do a 3 by 3 inverse by hand. So we're just gonna put it in our calculator. So let's start by writing our A, X, and B matrix on our paper, and then we'll put them in our calculator. I do always want you to write it by hand first, because if you were to mess it up for some reason when you put it in the calculator, but you had it correct by hand, then I would be able to use that answer to recognize that you just made a mental mistake. All right, so my coefficients are going to go 1, 1, -3. 2, 1, -1, 3, 1, 5. Bless you. We'll do our XYZ matrix. Just so we recognize that that's happening. We're going to get to a point that you probably won't write your XYZ matrix, and that's okay. But then we'll finish with our B matrix. And that's all the answers on the right side. All right, again, the only reason we're handwriting it down first is if you mess it up when you put it in the calculator, I at least know that you put the right numbers in. The hard thing about the calculator stuff is there's so much that happens in the calculator, is that if you mess something up and I don't see any of this work, I just assume you didn't know what you were doing. So that's why we like to write this out first. Okay. Now we're gonna go into our calculator and we're gonna put A into our A category. So we're gonna go put matrix A in for A, and we're gonna put B in for B. And then we're just going to physically type A to the negative first times B, and our answer is gonna pop up. All right, if you remember, we get some ads on this, so just kind of ignore it if we get an ad today. Do you remember how to change your matrices? What do you do? What do you press to even go to your matrix? Good, second, X to the negative first. Can I press the button here to edit matrix A? No, I gotta go over to edit, right? I gotta go all the way over to edit. I also like to always just change A, B, C, like I change the ones that they tell me that they're called. That way you could go further down and you could edit one that you haven't touched yet, but then sometimes I forget, wait, where did I just put my A matrix? So if I put it in F, I forget. So I always just go and change A, B, and C. So I'm gonna change matrix A, mine is a 3x4 for some reason, so I'm gonna make it a 3x3. I'm gonna enter all my numbers in, 1, 1, -3, 2, 1, -1, 3, 1, 5. I don't remember if I was all bent out of shape last week, but remember to double, triple, quadruple check. Always check, 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 check that you're doing the right things. Once I've got matrix A in, I'm gonna second quit to get out of there, and then I'm gonna go edit matrix B. Make sure matrix B looks like mine. Okay, now, once I've got both of those in, we are gonna get A to the negative first times B in our calculator. So we'll go back to second matrix and type A. So once it's on the name, then you can just press enter. Then you press the button we have been pressing to get to matrix to the negative first. And then we'll go second matrix B, and we should have literally what we have written on paper written in the calculator. You guys all there with me? If you press enter, that's our answer. You are welcome to leave it as a decimal. In this case, I think it's fine as a decimal. In a minute, we'll probably move it into a fraction because it will make more sense. But this is all our answer is. It's our solution. And you can even say X, Y, Z is equal to this because that's what those numbers mean. 3.5, -3.25, and then -2.25. And so the first number goes with X, the second number goes with Y, and the third number goes with Z. And that's all we do. When you put in the calculator, that's it. You have your answer. There's another one just like it. Can you try that one without me? Okay, go ahead and put in your calculator, see what you get. Calculator, see what you get. Again, I suggest you do your AB on paper so that we know what they are. Notice there's a couple that don't have a variable. So like on the second equation on letter B has no Y. So I put a 0 in to hold the place for the Y. Same thing for Z, I have 2x plus 5y and no Z, so I've got 2, 5, and 0. So go ahead and stop, make sure that your first matrix looks like mine. Make sure you've got the zeros where I have my zeros. Then I'll do X, Y, Z. And then I'll do matrix B, which is 1, 7, 6. And now in order to get my answer, I'm going to do a to the negative first times b. And I have to put that in my calculator. I'm going to make sure my a and b look like that. Edit.
Carhartt Company Gear equips teams of all sizes from 10 to 10,000. So no matter what the job or the weather brings.
We're gonna do that. Okay. 2, -1, 3, 0, 1, 2, 5, 0. Double triple check. Now I'm gonna put B in. Oh, shoot. Make sure you press edit. I didn't write then. 1, 7, 6. Then I'm gonna do matrix 1 to the negative first times matrix B. And on this one, I got kind of crazy decimals. I don't love to write these decimals. I don't want to round them. So let's put them in fraction form. Did we go over how to put it in fraction form already? Go ahead and press math if you want it in fraction form. If you press math, the very first button says arrow fraction. Just press enter again. And it says, take whatever our answer was and make it a fraction. I say, okay, yes. And so I know those are very, very small numbers for you to see, but I've got 46 over 27. I've got 14 over 27, and I've got 17 over 9. And I think that answer is nicer than the other answer. So let's make sure we've got that. Okay. All right, you guys doing okay with that? Okay, let's flip our paper over. We're gonna skip Cramer's rule for today. We'll do that tomorrow. I'm gonna do a couple Gauss-Jordan reductions on the calculator, okay? Couple Gauss-Jordans on the calculator. My freshmen are down the hallway. I wanna look at something really quick. Okay. So Gauss-Jordan is kind of a fancy way to say, two things that we're gonna do. So we're gonna do something called REF, and we're gonna do something called REF. Those are what they're called in the calculator. Now, I took an entire course on matrices in college, so you can go way farther in depth than we're doing. We're basically doing like 3 weeks on matrices, so you can go a lot more in depth than what we're doing. You can do this by hand. We are only going to do this in the calculator, okay? And so in order to put this in the calculator, we're going to use something called an augmented matrix, okay? So augmented matrix. What that means is instead of doing a 3 by 3 and a 3 by 1 matrix and then doing inverse or multiplying or whatever, we are just going to combine those two together. And I'm going to make a 3 by 4 matrix. that has all of my coefficients and my solutions all in one matrix. So we'll start by setting it up like we just did A, like we've done all of our coefficient matrices. So I just want all the coefficients to begin with. So we're gonna do all the X's, Y's, and Z's. So I'm gonna go 1, 1, -1, 2, -1, 3, and 3, 1, 1. Now notice that I have not closed my matrix yet. Right now I just have a 3 by 3 matrix. What I'm going to do when I write this on paper, but we don't do it in the calculator and it doesn't show us this in the calculator, but I do this on paper to make it make sense, is I do this big vertical line that separates my coefficients, and now I'm gonna write my solution, my solution like column. 2, 14, 14, and then I'm gonna close my matrix. So if you see, I've got my coefficients on one side. And I've got my solutions on the other side. Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in the calculator, and we're either gonna press the button that says REF or RREF, okay? Now, REF is a bit of the longer way, so we're gonna do that first, okay? So let's actually talk about what REF looks like. So once we enter it in, we'll be ready to go. REF stands for row echelon form. What that means is in this 3 by 4 matrix, I'm gonna have 1, and then I'm gonna have like 2 numbers. And then an answer. I'm gonna have 0, 1, and then another number and an answer. And then the last row is gonna go 0, 0, 1, and then an answer. The diagonal will be ones, and then everything lower than the diagonal will all be zeros. We're about to do that first. Now I can't press that button on my like phone, iPad calculator, but you guys can all press it on your regular calculator. So you're gonna have to help me out with that, okay? This is basically just gonna give me the answer for Z, and then I'm gonna have to use substitution to plug the answers in to find Y and X, okay? So let's go plug in our augmented matrix, and then we'll figure out where REF and RREF are. Okay, so we'll go plug our augmented matrix in now. Second matrix, edit, and I just always edit A like I told you, so I'm gonna make A become a 3 by 4 now. Once I have it set up to be a 3 by 4, now I'm just gonna enter all the little pieces in. 1, 1, -1, 2, 2, -1, 3, 14, 3, 1, 1, 14. Okay, now once we have that out, we're gonna exit out and we're gonna go find the REF button. If you go to second matrix and go to math. We've done DET, we've done the big T. We're gonna scroll all the way down until we get to letter A, should say REF, and then I only see letter B, which says RREF, okay? So you are gonna hit letter A, even though I can't see that up here. So letter A says REF, and letter B says RREF. RREF is a shortcut, which I'm going to teach you in 2 seconds, but I like to do the long cut before we do the shortcut, okay? So go ahead and press A in your calculator, and then it will have REF come up on your main screen, and then go put matrix A in it. So I'll press RREF so you can kind of see what I see. You press it and then go get matrix A in there. So you should have REF A, and then you should press enter. Just, and again, I can't press it because I don't have it on mine. Once you press it, what's the first row that we get? Anybody tell me what the first row you get is? Should start with a 1. Good, why don't we put it in fraction form? Put it in fraction form and then tell me what you get.
One third, and 14/3.
14 over 3. Awesome. All right, what do we get in the second row? 0, 1.
0, negative 7/5,
Okay.
and negative 14/5.
Good. And then 0, 0, 1, and then what was the last number?
2.
2. Okay, perfect. What this does is this now gives us new equations. Basically, it tells us, and I like to start with the bottom row. I've got 0 x's plus 0 y's plus 1 z equals 2. Now, do I need to write 0x plus 0y? No, that's redundant. Basically, that bottom equation just says z equals 2. Okay, awesome. That's really nice. The equation above then says 0x plus 1y plus negative 7/5 z equals negative 14/5. Again, just like last time, I don't need that 0x, so it just says y plus negative 7/5 z equals negative 14/5. And then last, my first equation says what x plus 1/3 y plus 1/3 z equals 14 thirds. Now, based on this, like I said, REF is a little bit of the longer cut. So I have my z, I have that answer. Now I'm gonna go find y by plugging in z to my second equation. So I'm gonna go plug 2 in for that z, and then I can find y. Once I find y, then I can use y and z to help me go find my x. All right, so let's go do that. Let's see, so it says y plus negative 7/5 times z equals negative 14/5. And we said z was 2. You guys okay with me so far? Okay, let's multiply. So negative 7/5 times 2 is negative 14/5. And when I add 14/5 to both sides, oh, I just get 0. It's not too bad. Now I have 2 answers. Now I have z equals 2 and y equals 0. We're gonna go plug those in for z and y over here, and then we can fix x's, and then we're done. So we'll say x plus 1/3 y plus 1/3 z equals 14 thirds. And we know z was 2, and we just found out that y was 0. And so now we've got a little plug and chugs, and we're gonna solve. Anything times 0 is 0, so I've got x plus 1/3 times 2 is 2/3 equals 14/3. Oh, and then we'll just minus our 2/3 from both sides. And we'll get x equals 12/3, which is 4. X equals 4. And so I know it's messy, and I know we had to do a little bit of extra work, but we have all of our answers. X equals 4, y equals 0, and then z equals 2. Now, I promise if we had just pressed R, R, E, F, and then matrix A, we would have gotten this answer without having to do any work. So let's double check our work. If you go back to second matrix and go to math, and don't hit REF, but hit RREF, letter B. And then do that of matrix A, we should get. If you look, that last column is 4, 0, 2. Now, this that we see on as my answer right now, that is in reduced row echelon 4. That's what RREF stands for. Reduced row echelon form. Which means that instead of just having the first, like the diagonal is still gonna be ones, but instead of just having zeros under the diagonal, we also have zeros above the diagonal. I don't remember if I told Alpha what this was called, but I'll tell you guys and I'll remind Alpha tomorrow when I see them. This is called an identity matrix. So an identity matrix is where you have all zeros except for the diagonal, which is ones. So if we can get the left side into be an identity matrix, then that's called reduced row echelon form. And then my answers are just the 3 numbers over here. And those are just our solutions. All right, I'd love to do 2 more. So I'd love to do B and C, and I just want you to do R, R, E, F of them. So I want you to do the shortcut for both of those. So write your augmented matrix, press R, R, E, F, enter it in the calculator, and then see what your answer is, okay? So I'll do the next one kind of out loud with you if you want to follow along. I've also got lots of zeros I'm gonna have in here. So I'm gonna put my W at the end. So I'm gonna go 1, 1, -1, 0. And then I'll put 4. I'll go 0, 1, 0, 1, -4, 1, -1, 0, 0, 1. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Now, sometimes I feel like these with all these ones and zeros is more confusing because there's so much room for error. So when you plug it in, make sure that you take some time to check all of your positive, negatives, all that fun stuff. Hit matrix, edit. Now this one is not gonna be a 3x4, it's gonna be a 4x5 matrix. And sometimes you'll be able to figure that out just because you don't have enough spots to put something in. So I need 1 more row and I need 1 more column. 1, 1, -1, 0, 4. All right, that looks good to me. And I'm gonna go do second matrix math and go to RREF, letter B. Here comes an ad. Oh, High School of Business is advertising on this calculator. Pretty cool, okay. And I want to do matrix A. Got my answers nice and neat. Once I get my answer matrix, you can either just put the 4.5, 3.5, 4, -7.5, or you could rewrite your whole matrix if that makes you happy. Sometimes I like to draw this arrow with RREF, so A, I know what I did, and B, whoever's grading my paper knows what I did. I think this whole matrix is good enough. If you just wanna give me that last column, that is also fine. So as long as it's clear to me what your final solutions column is, that's all that matters. All right, well, letter C, that's the last one I want to do today, so go ahead, when you're done with letter B, go to letter C, write your augmented matrix on paper, copy it into your calculator, press REF and see what you get. Did anybody have questions on B before I move on? Notice the dimensions on this is different, so you're gonna have to edit the dimensions as well. Right. Once you've done all of it, you press your REF and you think you have your answer matrix. Look up at the board and see if it matches mine. Does this look a little different than the ones we've seen before? What's different about it? Or what's maybe alarming to you right now? Good, so Ryan's like, I don't love that I thought that these were gonna be zeros and these are numbers. What else do you notice that's funny about this matrix? This is weird, that we haven't seen yet. Does this alarm anybody? Cause that alarms me a little bit. The whole bottom row is zero? 0x plus 0y plus 0z equals 0? That doesn't tell me anything, right? It doesn't tell me what x, y, or z equals. All it says is 0 equals 0. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Yeah? What special answer is my answer here?
It's all real.
All reals. It's all reals because I still have a true answer down here at the bottom, but it doesn't help me know any of my other answers. And like Ryan said, it's not cleared all the way through. It's really not reduced. So this one is going to be all real. So when you get all zeros at the bottom, you have all reals. We're gonna do this last problem and then the Kramer's rule tomorrow, after the quiz. It's a no calculator quiz. I don't really want to spend a lot of time answering questions, so if you have any, come to office hours, because I just want to get going on the quiz immediately so I can finish these notes. And I think that's kind of all I got for you. If you're going on retreat, have a good time. Everybody else, we're just gonna keep doing work.